Welcome back. Today, we're uncovering 35 of the most terrifying gang encounters ever captured on camera. These real-life moments reveal the intense and often shocking realities of gang life. Let's get started. CCTV footage from a convenience store on the 6900 block of Ashcroft in Houston, Texas, revealed two men entering the premises on the evening of Wednesday, September 20th, 2023, around 9 p.m. Without hesitation, the armed suspect kicked open the door leading to the secured area housing the cash registers. Not content with just the money from the registers, one of the suspects also seized the key to the gaming machines on the premises and proceeded to empty out the cash from those as well. With their ill-gotten gains in hand, the two suspects fled the scene, disappearing into the night without a trace of their direction or intended destination. A scene of destruction unfolded as an unmistakable rumbling reverberated through the area. Dramatic video shows a brazen individual commandeering a digger to violently rip an ATM machine from a gas station wall in Ireland. The ATM was then lifted into a waiting getaway car. A motorcyclist flagged down another rider for help, claiming his own bike had broken down. What happened next was shocking. As the shocking scene unfolded, the motorcyclist and his passenger were outnumbered and overpowered. On Wednesday, November 1st, 2023, around 9 p.m., an incident unfolded. At that time, an unknown male entered a smoke shop located on the 4300 block of W. Fuqua in Houston, Texas. After briefly wandering around the store, the male exited through the locked door, allowing 3 additional males to gain entry. Armed with handguns, the group of males proceeded to demand the money from the cash register, instilling fear in those present. Not content with just the cash, the suspects also helped themselves to merchandise from within the store. On Saturday, August 26, 2023, around 12:50 p.m., an unknown male and female entered a smoke shop at the 4300 block of W. Fuqua in Houston, Texas.
Everything you got, everything you got, hurry up, everything you got.
The male suspect brandished a handgun and demanded money from the cash registers, while the female suspect bagged the cash and merchandise. After obtaining their loot, the suspects fled in an unknown direction. On Monday, July 24, 2023, 2 men went to the yard located at the 4600 block of White Rock in Houston, Texas. An older model white BMW stopped in front of the residence, and 2 males got out of the vehicle.
Get the other one.
Need it. Okay.
The suspects placed the yard equipment into their vehicle and fled the location. On Tuesday, August 22, 2023, around 3:30 p.m., a Houston resident on the 2000 block of Willed Rock Way became the victim of an armed robbery. The victim had just returned home and was wheeling his trash bins towards the house when a maroon Toyota Camry slowly approached.
Give me everything. Give me everything. Give me everything.
To the victim's alarm, an unknown male exited the rear passenger seat of the Camry and rushed towards him. The suspect demanded the complainant's property, then searched his pockets, removing the victim's wallet. The robber also snatched the victim's backpack, which contained a computer and iPad.
Give me everything. Give me everything. Give me everything.
With the stolen items in hand, the suspect quickly retreated back to the waiting Toyota Camry, re-entering the rear passenger seat. On Saturday, October 21st, 2023, around 7:30 p.m., a smoke shop located in the 2100 block of Campbell in Houston, Texas, became the target of an armed robbery. Two unknown male suspects entered the store, with one of them remaining near the front door, while the other advanced towards the employee standing behind the counter. As the employee realized he was being robbed, the second suspect pulled out a handgun. In response, the employee quickly fled to the back office, alerting a second employee on the premises. That second employee then retrieved his personal firearm and confronted the armed suspect, firing a warning shot into the air. Faced with an armed response, the robbery suspect immediately turned and ran out of the store, with his accomplice following close behind. In the early hours of Saturday, October 21st, 2023, around 6 a.m., a brazen armed robbery unfolded at a convenience store on the 3700 block of Laura Copa in Houston, Texas. Two unknown male suspects entered the establishment, with one of them brandishing a handgun. The armed suspect immediately accosted the store clerk, forcing her to open the cash register. Having obtained their ill-gotten gains, the two suspects then fled the scene, disappearing in an unknown direction. An unexpected event shakes up the atmosphere at the Sprint store in Mati Juliet, involving a group of individuals. As the terrifying scene unfolded, the suspects reportedly demanded access to the store's cash reserves and any other valuable items within reach. The employees, fearing for his safety, had no choice but to comply.
Open it.
We explore LA to witness what started as a seemingly innocuous exchange. A casual inquiry met with the familiar gesture of throwing a gang sign, a way to establish a perceived sense of belonging.
Show me the
What'd I do?
You too, bro. You know where you at.
Yeah,
You don't even know where you at.
no, LA.
However, this routine interaction took an abrupt and unexpected turn spiraling into a situation that defied initial assumptions.
I just got here.
What's the zip code? Right here where we at.
Bro,
Not too sure.
well, bro, you know about
Stop, bro.
man
What
out
are
here,
you
bro.
doing?
Us man got the big thing, bro.
I'm leaving.
Yo, I'm leaving.
The circumstances rapidly escalated, transforming what was once an ordinary encounter into an alarming display of unforeseen consequences.
Too
We
much,
got
bro.
the big things out here, bro. Mexican.
Stop, bro. Please, bro. I'm outside. You
Chill.
Wait, bro.
Stop, bro. No, leave him. No.
The video shows a group of suspects brazenly entering a convenience store located at 2047 Broadway, brandishing weapons and issuing threats. In the footage, the suspects can be seen storming into the store, immediately demanding access to the cash registers and any other valuables within reach. With complete disregard for the safety of others, the armed assailants ransacked the premises, indiscriminately seizing any items they deemed valuable. However, the situation took an unexpected turn. The suspects, who had initially shown a brazen willingness to use violence, were suddenly sent into a panic by the gunfire. A seemingly routine morning at the Star Stop convenience store located at 105 Aldine Bender in Houston, Texas, took a harrowing turn on Wednesday, October 28, 2020. Two unidentified males entered the premises, initially blending in with the other customers by making their way to the coffee section. One of the men even purchased a cup of coffee, adding to the illusion of being an ordinary patron. However, their true intentions soon became apparent as the duo lingered, biding their time until most of the other customers had left the store. With the coast seemingly clear, one of the men suddenly produced a handgun, shattering the calm atmosphere. He brazenly vaulted over the counter, training his weapon on the store clerk as he demanded access to the cash registers. Fearing for his safety, the complainant complied with the suspect's demands, handing over the money from the registers. With their ill-gotten gains secured, the two suspects swiftly exited the store, fleeing the scene in what witnesses described as a gray or blue Honda CR-V, allegedly driven by a third unidentified accomplice. Three unidentified men approached a store clerk standing outside a convenience store in Houston, Texas. The suspects demanded money and cigarettes as they forced the clerk back into the store. Once inside, they made the clerk enter the enclosed area behind the counter and open the cash registers at gunpoint. The suspects took cash from the registers and cartons of cigarettes from the shelves, putting them into bags they had brought. As the suspects were exiting, they pushed the clerk outside and tried to take his vehicle, but could not get his keys. While fleeing the scene, one of the suspects fired a gunshot towards the clerk from his handgun. The suspects then got into a black four-door SUV and drove away. The store's video surveillance cameras captured footage of the entire armed robbery. In a seemingly routine traffic stop for a known criminal, the situation quickly devolved into a harrowing high-speed chase through crowded city streets and highways, putting both officers and civilians in grave danger, all because the suspect was determined to avoid returning to prison at all costs. Montrell Jones pulled into the Exxon, quickly throwing his hoodie over his head as he noticed the patrol car. Known as a gang member and convicted felon out on pre-trial release, his black Kia Optima raised suspicions. The officers attempted a traffic stop, but Jones refused to comply, reeking of marijuana. As they tried to extract him from the vehicle, they were met with a shocking reaction. The officers quickly got back in their patrol car to pursue the suspect. On the sun-baked roads of Laredo, a desperate chase was underway. A confirmed Valuco gang member and human smuggler had just made a fateful decision that would nearly cost him everything. Known for his involvement in smuggling operations across the border, the man faced years behind bars if caught again. So when the flashing lights of a DPS trooper's cruiser appeared in his rearview mirror, panic took over. He zigzagged through intersections, nearly striking pedestrians and other cars in his frantic bid for freedom. But in that blind pursuit, he miscalculated, crashing violently into a fence. In the aftermath, the trooper found the smuggler dazed, but emerged from the wreckage, along with 4 illegal immigrants huddled in the back seat. As handcuffs clicked shut, the man faced human smuggling and evading arrest charges. In the dead of night in a Phoenix neighborhood, an audacious crime was about to unfold.
On camera as a Phoenix homeowner protects themselves from...
With practiced ease, they began kicking at the front door, the sound of splintering wood piercing the silence. But they had underestimated the homeowner's resolve.
Trying to break in.
The Phoenix Police Department released this surveillance video tonight. You can see 4 men kicking in a front door only to be met by gunfire from the homeowner.
As the door flew open, a deafening gunshot rang out, narrowly missing the would-be intruders. In that split second, the tables had turned. The hunters had become the hunted. The suspects fled into the night, their plan for an easy score shattered by the homeowner's daring act of defiance. It was just another Saturday night in Brazoria County, Texas. The music was thumping, the drinks were flowing, and a group of young revelers had gathered for what should have been an ordinary house party. But fate had other plans. As the night wore on, tensions began to escalate between different circles within the party crowd. What started as good-natured razzing and juvenilia quickly devolved into something more sinister. Suddenly, chaos erupted as fists began flying and bottles were launched across the room like missiles. In the midst of the mayhem, 2 partygoers were struck down, injured by the senseless violence that had taken over. In the quiet countryside, tensions between rival gypsy traveler families had been simmering for far too long. But on this fateful day, long-held grievances would finally boil over into unrestrained violence.
The rapist trailer now, boys. The man, look, the man called dead people names. Come out, you dirt, look at this. Look. This is Jimmy the rapist trailer.
It began with the sudden, thunderous impacts of bats and crowbars against the side of an unassuming Caravan, but their destruction didn't stop there.
Come on, Sahars! Come on, Sahars! Look! Look, Sahars! Look! Look, Sahars! Look! You're not even in it! Look!
Not satisfied until every last remnant of their rivals' lives was desecrated, the marauding group set their sights on the family's very home.
I don't even inside! I don't even inside! Come out! Are you in here? Are you in there, you dirt? Look, there's no one in the house, you know the dirty. Bug on.
They breached the doors and windows like barbarians storming a castle, stopping at nothing to smash, shatter, and defile every possession in their path. In the pre-dawn hours of a Friday morning in Houston, an eerie calm blanketed the city streets. But at one unassuming convenience store on Mosley Boulevard, a scene of terror was about to unfold. Like phantoms materializing from the shadows, 3 menacing figures emerged, handguns gleaming. In a matter of seconds, the store's sanctuary was shattered as the armed intruders stormed inside, barking orders at the terrified employees. The suspects fled into the night just as swiftly as they arrived, vanishing into a getaway vehicle, a black Ford Explorer, that now carried them back into the underworld from which they came. It was supposed to be just another routine night for the undercover Dallas police officer known as Nathaniel Chapman. But the streets of the city were about to turn into a war zone. As Chapman patrolled the Northwest Highway near I-35E, a menacing vehicle slunk up behind him in the shadows. In a flash, 3 brazen teenage suspects leapt out, brandishing firearms and storming the officer's car. With guns leveled at his head, Chapman was dragged from his vehicle by the vicious carjackers. But the veteran officer wasn't going down without a fight. Shots rang out as Chapman and one of the suspects traded fire in a desperate close-quarters battle. The violent confrontation came to an end as the suspects fled the scene in Chapman's commandeered car, leading police on a dangerous high-speed pursuit that would eventually cross state lines into Louisiana. In Shreveport, the brazen 19-year-old ringleader, Redricus Lewis, along with his teenage accomplices Red Travian Polk and Xavier Cook, were finally apprehended. It was just after the lunch rush at a nondescript smoke shop on Willcrest in Houston. Employees were going about their usual routine, blissfully unaware that a storm of terror was brewing just outside. Then, like thieves in the night, 3 ominous figures burst through the entrance. But these were no ordinary robbers. They came armed and dangerous, a handgun glinting menacingly in the dim store lights.
Please.
The brazen trio fled back into the harsh Houston streets from whence they came, disappearing without a trace. It began as an ordinary journey for the bus driver in Barbados. Little did he know, 2 wolves had just boarded his bus in sheep's clothing. As the bus trundled along its route, the 2 suspicious passengers began making their move. But this grizzled driver wasn't going down without a fight. With one hand grasping the wheel, the other grabbed for anything he could use as a weapon against his would-be robbers. In the end, the driver's sheer grit and determination won out against the robbers' desperation. As quickly as they had struck, the suspects were forced to cut their losses and flee. It was a Tuesday evening like any other at the upscale mall on Greens Road in Houston. Shoppers milled about, all blissfully unaware of the malicious plan taking shape. Two nondescript men entered the jewelry store, posing as typical browsing customers. But their wandering eyes studied the layout, mapped the exits, and scouts the glistening jewels that would soon be in their grasp. Then, like a strike of lightning, the duo returned with two more accomplices in tow. In a raucous blitz, they vaulted the counter, sending display cases clattering as they snatched up handfuls of glittering loot. When a heroic employee attempted to intervene, he was met with brutal force and shoved aside. The suspects' knapsacks now bulging with their ill-gotten plunder, the quartet disappeared into the crowds as swiftly as they had descended. It was a picture-perfect day for sightseeing in the French countryside. A bus full of tourists from around the world was idly passing by. Little did they know that their postcard-worthy journey was about to take a dark turn. They successfully offloaded some of the tourists' luggages while the bus was still moving. It was just after sunrise in the peaceful Alcoa community of Benton when an ordinary morning took a sudden turn towards the bazaar. Two shadowy figures were preparing to strike at the heart of the local Federal Credit Union. Disguised from head to toe, the brazen thieves pulled up in a rugged pickup truck, their sights set on the ATM bolted to the ground outside. In a scene ripped straight from the movies, they attached chains to the cash machine with cold calculation. Then, with a roar of the truck's engine, the attempt at a daring heist was underway. The thieves gunned it, straining to rip the ATM from its foundation as the chains went taut. But their plan quickly began to unravel, and the steel vault refused to budge, held fast by its anchors. Undeterred, the robbers continued their futile efforts, dragging the ATM in fits and starts as it carved furrows in the pavement. Finally, perhaps realizing their scheme was doomed, they cut their losses and abandoned not only the wounded cash machine, but their getaway truck as well, fleeing on foot into the early morning fog. It was just another weekday evening in Houston's bustling Montrose neighborhood, but at one unassuming storefront on West Alabama, a storm of violence was brewing. A group of men sauntered through the door, instantly putting the lone employee on edge. Though they played it cool at first, browsing the wares like any typical customers, their true intentions were about to be violently revealed. In the blink of an eye, one of the men whipped out a handgun, vaulting over the counter and leveling it at the terrified clerk. Barked demands to open the cash register rang out as another suspect forced a customer to the ground, threatening more bloodshed if he didn't empty his pockets. With their loot secured, the unhinged robbers fled into the fading Houston dusk, speeding away in a black four-door getaway car. It was approaching the witching hour in Houston when a brutal violation tore through the late-night quiet of an unassuming sandwich shop on Gessner Road. An unknown male entered the eatery with a palpable menace. As he approached the counter, the lone clerk felt a creeping sense of dread wash over him. In a whiplash instant, the man produced a handgun from his pocket, issuing chilling demands to the terrified worker. Trapped behind the counter, he could only comply, watching helplessly as the armed thief vaulted over the barrier and plundered the register of its meager cash contents. The robber fled into the night as suddenly as he appeared, leaving a shell-shocked employee to pick up the pieces and wonder what fresh horrors might lurk around the next corner. It was supposed to be just another evening service at the Wingstop on Little York in Houston. Employees were wrapping up, while a few lingering customers enjoyed some late-night fare. But a quiet hush fell over the dining room as 3 unknown men burst through the doors. One of the intruders brandished a menacing rifle, wildly sweeping it across the room as he barked orders at the staff. While the rifle-wielding thug corralled the terrified workers, his accomplices got to work, one vaulting the counter to empty the registers at gunpoint, as the other systematically robbed the helpless diners of their valuables. Their harrowing tasks complete, the remorseless trio turned and fled like cockroaches scattering into the night. Another day was winding down at the Family Dollar on Airport Boulevard. Employees were wrapping up their Sunday shift, ready to lock the doors and head home. But an ominous pall was about to fall over the quiet discount store. Without warning, the front entrance exploded inward as 3 menacing figures forced their way inside. 2 of the intruders immediately brandished handguns. Barked commands rang out. Ordering the employees to the front counter at gunpoint. While one suspect stood sentry by the shattered entrance, his accomplices systematically robbed the workers of every last dollar from the registers and safe. The remorseless thieves turned and fled into the night just as abruptly as they had arrived. The witching hour had fallen over the Houston night as the smoke shop on Derry Ashford prepared to close up for the evening. Little did the staff know, a sinister force was descending upon them. Like specters materializing from the shadows, 3 armed men burst through the entrance. Two brandished handguns menacingly as the third took up a position by the door, ensuring there would be no interruptions to their diabolical mission. Guttural demands rang out, ordering the staff to the register at gunpoint. With trembling hands, the clerks could do nothing but comply, watching in horror as the thieves emptied the cash drawer of its contents. Their repugnant deed done, the marauding trio turned on their heels and vanished into the night, just as swiftly as they had appeared. In an attempt to rob a phone shop in Whitechapel, the tables turned in an unexpected way. It soon became apparent that the people they initially perceived as victims were none other than the shop owners themselves, who had locked the thieves inside to prevent their escape.
Yeah, they're locked inside now. They're trying to get out. Yeah. There's still something.
The shop owners, members of a tight-knit community in Whitechapel, were determined to protect their business from criminal elements. After enduring a significant number of robberies, they concluded that their only path to safety lay in taking matters into their own hands. Their plan was audacious, to simply lock the thieves inside the shop until authorities arrived. It was just another weekday at the unassuming smoke shop and vape store in the heart of New York City. Patrons came and went, employees going about their daily routines, blissfully unaware of the horror that was about to unfold. Then, like a bolt of lightning, the peace was shattered. A figure emerged from the streams of pedestrians outside, his intentions twisted and violent. Caught unawares, the clerk behind the counter barely had time to react before the brazen assailant was upon them. In the dead of night, 3 shadowy figures approached the storefront. 2 of the suspects, with cold determination, began ransacking the cash registers, pillaging every dollar and cent. But their greed knew no bounds. The third suspect, a hulking figure, pried open the store's ATM with brute force, ripping out the cash tray as if it were a piece of tin foil. Their nefarious work complete, the 3 shadowy specters fled into the night, disappearing through the back exit as swiftly as they had arrived, leaving only an empty husk and a traumatized employee in their wake. The hustle of Houston streets had quieted to a murmur as the early morning hours crept in. But at one smoke shop along the Gulf Freeway, a sinister pall was about to descend. Like wraiths in the night, 2 figures materialized from the shadows, slipping through the front entrance virtually unnoticed. But they brought with them an aura of menace that would soon shatter the quiet calm. Trembling hands rifled the cash drawer, relinquishing its meager contents as the thieves helped themselves to assorted merchandise from the shelves. The remorseless pair slipped away into the night just as they had come,